Squeeze.
All right, we're gonna get cozy.
Not very COVID friendly here, but.
Awesome. How's everybody doing today? Great. Let's go. All right, so thank you for joining us for this panel on building the future of Web3 infrastructure here at Taipei Blockchain Week. I'm Albert Hu. I'm a developer advocate at Alchemy, where our mission is to bring blockchain to 1 billion people. So I'm sure everybody here already knows, but just to set some context, set some tone for the conversation, there have been 3 major technology shifts in the past 50 years. We have the computer in the very beginning. So computers were, they allowed us to kind of give it instructions, automate instructions. Number 2, we had the internet. The internet allowed computers to transfer information across the internet instantaneously, which was huge. It allowed us to have all of the amazing applications that we have today. And then now we have blockchains. And blockchains allow computers to exchange value natively across the internet, which is absolutely huge. And we're just now starting to scratch the surface of all of these amazing use cases and applications for this data structure. So with the latest innovation, Alchemy, for example, is here to provide developers with the tools that they need to build great products in the space. And of course, this is ultimately the mission of every single one of these companies represented here on this panel. So let's dive into the conversation here about how we're working towards this vision. And quick note, Josh Tobkin from Superblocks could not join us today due to some visa issues, but his co-founder John Jones is in the audience somewhere. So go chat with him afterwards if you want to learn more about that. Okay, so for each of our panelists here, could you tell us your name, how you got started in the crypto and blockchain world, and why you decided to focus your energy on infrastructure in the Web3 industry? And we can just go down the row here. So.
Yeah, great. Well, my name is Clara Tsao. I am from the US. I actually just flew in here yesterday, but I'm also Taiwanese American. So I'm so proud to be here and also support this amazing conference for the first time here in Taiwan. I've seen the movement from afar over the past few years, and this is pretty much the largest gathering that I've seen of everyone here in Taiwan really gathering together for blockchain. A little bit about my background. I actually got involved in the cryptocurrency space in 2011, 2012. A good friend of mine had gone through Y Combinator with Brian Armstrong, who started Coinbase, and I was very much early in following that. I also spent some time in the policy space, so I was one of the first people to give a congressional briefing to members of Congress in 2013 about what blockchain is. And I do a lot of work in my day-to-day around translating what blockchain is versus what subsets of blockchain can do. For me, I really fell in love with the blockchain space because of what the crypto and cryptocurrency stands for, which came from the term cryptography, which really means how you can secure transactions between 2 entities. And the easiest way to think about cryptocurrency is it's just money that you can program. And when you can program money, you're programming incentives and you're programming the way that 2 parties can interact in the online space. And so with Filecoin and IPFS, what we're doing at the Filecoin Foundation is we are trying to build the world's largest decentralized file storage network. Today, we have so many monopolies that own most of our data, whether we put in consent or not. Data ownership is there, and we see this very real time in what's happening in China, where there's a very lack of democracy to information when information is centralized and centrally controlled. What we can do with Filecoin IPFS is we're trying to build a storage network. We have over 15 exabytes of available storage that allows anyone to store large amounts of data. We're around 1/100th the cost of Amazon Web Services, really well known for storing large amounts of data. And for us, it's not a currency, but it's more data as the most important currency of our time. Today, if I were to throw your phone into the body of water or in a pool, you probably would choke me and I probably wouldn't be able to breathe. But if I were to do that around 30 years ago, you wouldn't care. You would say, I don't have really that much data, but every month you probably get a new bill saying, I want to pay more and more for data every single month. And by the time, if we imagine the world 30 years from now, that bill will be enormous. What we're trying to do is make data more affordable and build a new economic system where people can store data that makes them more resilient. And that's actually why I got involved in Web3. Is because these things should make sense. When people access information from libraries on the internet, they feel like they should get information that is unbiased and really represent information for integrity of information. However, on the web today, when you search something from Google, we all know that you're gonna get whoever pays the most, whether you think about it or not. it's ranked by the way people are using advertising, because that's the backbone of how a lot of these companies were structured. And even if they wanted to operate with integrity, the business structure of bringing value to shareholders makes that really hard. So I'm gonna wrap that up, but that's why I got involved, was I spent so many years defending a lot of terrible things that happen online, from terrorist use of the internet to other major issues, and ultimately we have to rethink the infrastructure of the internet to be able to get there if we want true information democracy.
Awesome, noble vision. Thanks for sharing. All right, Ben.
Hey guys, good to be here. This is Ben Guo from CloudMile. So again, a little bit of background about myself as well. I'm probably like quite a latecomer to the entire blockchain and crypto world. So I first got into it back in year, I think 2017 and 18. Of course, it was into cryptocurrency primarily, right? And ever since then, has been one hell of a ride, right? We all see the ups and downs. In terms of what got me into the Web3 infra, right? So personally, I like to share, I like to help people find more efficient and more effective way to do things. And at CloudMile, that's exactly what we do, right? We are one of the biggest GCP partner here in Asia, and our company has been helping many different renowned companies, not just locally in Taiwan, but also internationally, to modernize their infra, right? Make them more efficient, make them more effective. And that's essentially what I've been doing as a CloudMile project manager, right? So because we are also leveraging all the strong backbones of GCP, right? Like what Blues and Effie was saying, right? And on top of that, we also have our own professional engineering team. So altogether, it's just, it's good to help people, companies to grow and to innovate, right? And that's exactly what we want to do. And in the context of Web3, right? We all know that currently there's the so-called blockchain trilemma, right? And that's one thing we feel like eventually we can be helping as well, is utilizing the use of cloud or even some infrastructure implementations. We can help companies to eventually overcome these blockchain trilemmas. And I'm sure that with all the brilliant talents around here in the room, right, eventually we will slowly but surely overcome this blockchain trilemma. So yeah, that's a wrap up.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, Tammy.
Hello, good morning. I'm Tammy, the founder of Numbers. And I think I'm also the latecomer to the blockchain space. It took me and my co-founders some years to figure out how Web3 technology can really help. So I think the infrastructure we are trying to provide is not targeting the Web3 companies. Instead, I think we're trying to provide the infrastructure for the real world problem and really help them to solve. And the problem at Numbers Protocol we are trying to address will be in the day where it is so easy to copy a photo, and also even the AI can create a photo that if you use human eyes and you hardly tell the difference. And so today, how do you prove a photo you took really taken at this time, this place, by this person, or even when you took a selfie, and how can you prove you are a real person instead of AI, right? So that's a very interesting questions that they exist because we have great technology. And I think, so starting from 2019, so at Numbers, we think that Web3 technology is perfect. So just like Clara said, and we started the collaboration with Filecoin starting a very long time ago, and we create some of the very amazing project with them and also with the Starling Lab to answer the questions, for example, like in 2020. So that's when there was an election in the States. A lot of photos, so that was probably the election that everyone remembers. And so there are a lot of photos and videos online, and so what's true, what's not true, and when we look back, like 30 years later, are there any reliable resources to record the history at that time? And also, like this year, you know that there is a war in Ukraine. So then the question is, again, there are a lot of data sharing across the internet. So what's real and what's not real, and how can we use Web3 technology to really add the credible data points and to show that these are real, and not only real, but Web3 technology need to ensure that this data can exist for 10 years or 20 years because they are going to be presented to the international court, and actually they are already presented to the international court. So I think Web3 technology is really amazing. So I think we are looking forward to have more collaborations and then really bring it to the real life.
Awesome. Thank you so far for all the intros. I think what I find really interesting about the concept of infrastructure is that there's so many different layers of it, and the end users of each of our companies, the people that we're serving directly, can be at different layers of the stack. So excited to explore that some more. So for the first question, some context. Bitcoin was created in 2009. Ethereum was created in 2015. And since then, we've had a lot of various blockchains and other technologies, including ICOs, DeFi, NFTs, and a lot of these other concepts. So although there are a lot of hype bubbles and crashes as well as scams and hacks, our industry has also had some amazing innovation and creative culture, some of the most that I've ever seen in the entire tech industry. So I would love for you to share, what has been the best or greatest highlights of working in the Web3 industry, given that context in the past couple of years. And maybe we can start with Ben first on this one.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Albert. So I think we'll agree that the concept of Web3 is still relatively new compared to the concept of Web2, right? But with that being said, it's still very exciting to see how fast all the great, amazing Web3 companies are growing and coming out. And not just that, it's also very exciting to see how traditional Web2 powerhouses, right, for example, like GCP, also participating in Web3 as well and try to help to build the community. So I think this is what amazes me, and also being one of the highlights that's good to watch is the collaboration between the new and traditional companies, right? We're all here to work together and basically to create a better future. And we all know that when people work together, right, I'm quite optimistic that great things will happen.
Yeah, totally agree. I think there's sometimes there can be this misconception of Web 2 versus Web 3, especially on the Twitter sphere. But I think it's very much a collaboration and kind of an integration of new technologies. So thank you for highlighting that. Clara, I would love to know your perspective too.
Yeah, and a little bit of history with Filecoin and IPFS. Juan Benet from our counterparts at Protocol Labs started working on this in 2014. So that was actually around the same time as Ethereum.
You've seen many cycles.
We've seen around 4 bear cycles at this point. And I think what's so great is our community really believes in the long-term vision of infrastructure as opposed to some of the market dynamics that are happening. We've all seen the price go up, down for different currencies, but that's not our end goal. I think what is the most exciting for me actually has been seeing just the amount of incredibly talented people come into this space. One of my favorite sayings is go where you're rare, because you'll make the most impact there. And I've just seen the smartest people that I know in my network really choose to work on Web3. They leave other jobs from traditional companies that are usually in vogue at the time, and they want to build something, and they want to build it fast. And one thing that's also really interesting about the Web3 space is if you are a developer, if you've built something, we move faster than anyone else in any other space. I usually joke with my team, but I'm serious, we operate in dog years, not human years. People who have been on my team for just 2 months, they truly feel like it's been a marathon. And I feel like it's the same for everyone here in this room who have been part of this community, is we are moving so fast. We shipped a product just earlier this year called NFT.storage, and we have over 100 million NFTs stored on that platform, right? And that's kind of unthinkable to think about. We shipped our entire Filecoin network in less than 2 years ago, and we have over 1% of the entire world's cloud storage on it, which is also something that is crazy to think about, but we can do when we build it along with a huge decentralized community of over 4,000 storage providers running their own data centers and running their own business. So I think this is really, really important because for me, it's always been about the people, the talent, also the incredible community that support each other. I've never seen better collaboration than I have in the open source and blockchain environment where people want to build long and build together. So.
That's awesome, and I love the shout out for NFT storage too. I actually used that in a side project when I was first learning how to do blockchain development and Solidity and NFTs and all this stuff. Awesome, and Tammy, would love to hear about the highlights that you've seen since working in Web3.
Yeah, I think that definitely many, as I said, this industry moves so fast. So I think what I would like to highlight will be the use of NFT, and then how people expect to see more usage of NFT. So at Numbers Protocol, if we started from the question like how can we prove the photo is real or not real, but if we push one step further, and that can be used to answer if the photo is created by you or not. And that's, of course, related to the creativity industry and also the copyright problem. So we do see that even though now people will identify it as a bear market, however, there are a lot of our institutions and creator platforms, they are thinking about moving to Web3 space. So for example, one of our partner in LA, so they create a music royalty platform, and previously they used Web2 for the so it already exists, but they use Web2 to do the royalty distribution, the copyright, and so on. And now they are thinking about moving to the Web3 space. And same for some of the institutions, for example, like the Tate Museum, Photo London. So these are all very good institutions, and they are also now planning for the plans for the next 3 years using Web3 technology. So that's really amazing. I mean, so previously, I mean, most people know Web3 as probably only know crypto, I would say, and they're thinking like Web3 is something, some people crazy, and you know, and it's just some scam and full of scam and so on. However, when these players are really thinking about not 1 year or not 3 months, but like a 3-year plan using Web3 technologies, I think that's really a game changer, and I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. That's a great highlight to call out. I remember when I was very first, from the beginning, jumping into the Web3 crypto rabbit hole. This was like 2016, 2017 cycle. There were a lot of ICOs, and every single person who was launching a token was like, I'm going to decentralize Uber, or I'm going to decentralize whatever. But I think there were a lot of interesting ideas on like, let's track supply chains better, or like digital assets better. And I think it's really cool to see these starting to shape up and see like real world partners starting to explore these technologies. Awesome, cool. So for the next topic, as an infrastructure company that helps bridge traditional organizations into the blockchain world, I think we all play a part in doing that here. What's really exciting is that even as the markets are dropping, as you called out, developer activity and developer interest has been increasing. So I think that's really exciting, positive signal for the growth of the entire Web3 industry, as we're all here for today. So what do you think it will take in order for your company or your protocol to reach mainstream adoption or success? I think that's something I'm very curious about learning how you think about that. Yeah. So Tammy, why don't we start with you first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think this is, when I look at the agenda, then I really think this is an important and very interesting question. I think because most of, the developers we work with, the challenge is some of them are Web3, some of them are Web2. So I think for the Web3 technology companies, and they are more used to the idea of like you need to have a wallet and everything is open. But still, for the Web2 developers, I think it's still quite a long way to go. And at the moment, I think there will be some transition layers required. So for example, like accounts. So accounts is something that really a headache. Like in Web2 and Web3, it's just completely different concept. So how can you help them to, like the creator platforms or like the institutions I mentioned, how can you help them, their users, to have an account structure where you can keep the freedom in Web3, but at the same time, you have to fit into their original infrastructure and let them to use it very easily. And also, like, for example, even though in Web3, we would like to provide a decentralized database, for example, but still in Web2, they have their own considerations. And for these creator platforms or institutions, how do you support them with something they are super familiar with? So for example, like, they definitely will need better API supports. They don't want to connect to the contract. they want API for all. So all these kind of questions will be very important for the infrastructure companies like us and like everybody here to consider, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, that's been a big pain point we've seen a lot. We launched our NFT API about a year ago. that's like part of this whole stack that the NFT storage API and stuff helps out with as well. But things like that really are important to get the next wave of developers to build really good products that we can then share with the space. Yeah, I'm curious, what you think about that, Clara.
Yeah, I want to hit 2 points here. Number one is usability, which Tammy just mentioned, right? How do we build on-ramps like NFT.storage or find invisible ways of integrating blockchain without having to over-explain it? I will call out that I think in the last 3 years, in more of a bull market cycle, a lot of startups tend to use buzzwords, on-chain, off-chain. We use blockchain, smart contracts. But ultimately, if we want widespread user adoptability, we shouldn't even have to use those terms to explain how the technology works. It should just work. And which brings me to my second point, which is one area that we've been focused heavily on is enterprise adoption and also the launch of our Filecoin virtual machine, which will bring storage to smart contracts, which I'm very, very excited about. But the first part around enterprise adoption is really key because today most of enterprises still own most of the data and infrastructure in Web 2 and also in Web 3, and we have to bring them along. We have to bring them the credibility that all of us are building really hard and really critical stuff to support the next version of the web as we know it. So actually just a month and a half ago in Lisbon, we announced the launch of the Decentralized Storage Alliance. It's us, Protocol Labs, and also traditional storage entities like AMD and also Seagate. And also Ernst & Young. And they're all on the mission with us to make sure that we can get as much enterprise adoption and an understanding on how cloud works in Web 3, but also beyond that, they're on a mission to also get a widespread adoption. And I'll give you a couple of really exciting examples of why storage as an undercurrent is so important. Today, like I said earlier, we're using more data than ever before, and we're working with partners like huge genomics companies that produce so much data every single day. And that ends up with a very hefty bill. If we want really good scientific research, we need more affordable data. If we want better machine learning, if we want better training data, that has to be stored somewhere or else it's going to be thrown away. We have to have affordable data. And so for me, enterprise adoption, I think, is a huge piece that everyone has to be thinking about. It's really what got Ethereum on the map early on when they partnered with Microsoft. And we have to think about how we bring everyone along. It's so refreshing to see, Google Cloud and a few other traditional enterprises starting to play more and more in this space. So I just want that in the back of everyone's heads.
I love that combination strategy of having a high-level partnership, consortium where you bring on people to kind of help, spearhead this effort together, as well as tackling a very real pain point of the cost. I think it's nice to have that very hard fact of hey, this is better to use, as well as hey, let's all work together and figure out how to partner in strategic ways. Awesome, Ben, why don't you round us out?
All right, thanks. So I think we can all agree that majority of the attention in Web3 and blockchain now are probably in the application use cases, right? But with that being said, I think everyone here can also agree that that's the reason why we're all here, is that we cannot just look at the application use cases, right? We need to also look at the backbone of the blockchain, which is the infrastructure, right? Despite how fast all the use cases and applications are growing, but without a strong infrastructure behind supporting it, it poses a great limitation for the application to grow, right? So at CloudMile, right, as I was saying, that we are infrastructure house, right? We help people to modernize, make their infrastructure more efficient. So I think that it's very important for us to participate in events like this, right? Go out, talk to more people, see how we can help companies to improve their infrastructure, and in a way that can also improve their future application developments as well, right? So I think it's just by participating in events, talk to people, giving recommendations on what they can do in terms of infrastructure, and I think that's very important. So I just want to point out that the awareness of infrastructure, it's very important that everyone should keep in mind of as well.
Definitely. Are you seeing certain kind of trends? I'm curious, of use cases that your clients might care about.
Yeah. So there's definitely different use cases, right? So some of our clients, right, doing GameFi, right? Initially they were doing a traditional approach of maybe on-premise data centers, right, to host their nodes and something, but they found it to be very not very cost efficient for them, right? So they came to us and asked for recommendations on how to improve the infrastructure so they can be both more cost efficient and also have a faster speed as well, right? And we recommended them how to enhance their infrastructure, right, by utilizing some of the GCP solutions. And I think they found great success in that as well. And that's also the trend that we're seeing.
Awesome, great. That's a great launching point for the next question that I have, which is, in the Web3 world especially, collaboration is a very important culture point, collaboration and partnerships, and it's a really powerful way to ensure mutual growth, as you are probably all seeing so far. So I'm curious, which partners do you want to work with or already enjoy working with the most in the blockchain industry, and specifically why? So, you've already mentioned GCP. Maybe are there other partners or other groups that you're thinking about?
Yeah, sure. So we're definitely already working with some exciting and amazing companies out there, right? Not just saying the traditional infrastructure companies, but also GameFi companies as well, right? And for the companies that we want to work with, of course, it's events like this that are the people that we want to talk to, that we want to help, right? For example, like Alchemy, I think it's a great example as well, and I'm sure we can explore different collaboration or sharing opportunities with Filecoin and also numbers, and also with everyone down here as well. So it's just great to do networking and find out that, hey, what can we do for you, right? How can we help you to become better? So yeah, definitely it's the people here that we want to work with.
Let's go. Awesome. And Clara, I know you already have a bunch of partnerships all over, so I'm curious what you would want to highlight here.
Yeah, I'll name two things. I think in the Web3 space, we're very close partners with groups like Ethereum, and like I mentioned with the launch of Filecoin Virtual Machine, we'll have a lot more partnerships with other groups. So Vitalik actually called us one of the best partners to work with in the last conference in San Francisco that he had called The Merge. So that felt really good. Not planted, I swear, but I was just in the crowd and felt very good about our work. We also have very deep partnerships with Zcash and a few others. But I wanted to point out, actually, my most exciting partnership is actually with places where you wouldn't expect them to touch Web3. So around a few months ago, we launched a really amazing initiative called the Public Data Commons. And this goes back to what Tammy was saying earlier around information integrity. This is an effort we're doing to really bring the best public information stored on our technology to the decentralized web, because we feel like this information is so important it can never go down. And so Tammy mentioned Starling Labs earlier, which has also uploaded 50,000 testimonials of Holocaust survivors, testimonies that should never be forgotten and should never be lost in history. And we have given huge grants to groups like Internet Archive. Beyond that, we're also working with governments all around the world. And so just a year ago, we worked with the CTO of New York City to upload a backup copy of New York City's open data. There are so many issues that are pertinent in the US, like police brutality. And today, we have a lack of trust in our government and what kind of data happens and what kind of things might happen to data, even if it's open and even if it's public. The public might question whether that data is altered or not. And so we want to keep a backup copy of all this important data. And while I'm here in Taiwan, one incredible work that actually just came to our attention a year ago, but wasn't really on our radar, is the Ministry of Digital Affairs, led by Audrey Tang, is actually using IPFS to really think about mitigation when it comes to cybersecurity attacks, so that there is no single point of failure, that at an infrastructure level, we can really protect everything from the cyber standpoint. And this is the beautiful part about partnerships in Web3 that I think is mistaken, is people don't have to ask for permission. They can just use our technology like IPFS. It's available, transparent, and out there, and we want as many people to use it. And that's what's so great. And I think everyone here on this panel has so much incredible technology that anyone can discover and use immediately. So,
awesome. Thank you for that. And Tammy, curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think there definitely everyone. I mean, because Web3 is still at the early stage, and even some of the companies that initially, and we were thinking like, so do we have any synergy with you? So, for example, like about 2 months ago, we had a conversation with Metaverse, like considering the technology build and numbers. And we were really wondering, like, before the call, I was really thinking about, so how do we collaborate
Sorry, for people who don't know, could you give a brief overview of what Metaverse is?
The Metaverse?
Yeah.
The Metaverse is called, you mean the explanation of Metaverse?
Just like a,
okay. Yeah, sure.
People who don't have context.
Yeah, I think Metaverse is just like a virtual space where you can surf, and people have a lot of imagination about that, either work or play, and then having social inside that virtual world. Yeah, so like 2 months ago, we were having a conversation with the Metaverse, and yeah, as I mentioned, so before the conversation, I really just scratched my head, and I just couldn't think about what should we collaborate. However, and when we start having the conversation, and both sides, we are thinking about, actually we have a lot of very good synergy, because in the Metaverse, that's where people expect to have more engagement with people in the future. And actually, the content authenticity, or bringing the idea of how do you prove this is created by you, this content is owned by you, this kind of concept is very important for the Metaverse. So I think, so in general, I think we're more than open to anyone who is interested in having the conversation with us, maybe even not yet interested in using numbers protocol. But I think considering Web3 is really at this early stage, so having an open conversation is very important. And I believe that we here and also everybody here will have a lot of fun and interesting application in the coming future.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a very exciting use case, potential use case for numbers. Okay, cool. So the last question that I have, main question, is that there are a lot of folks in this audience who have been interested in the Web3 industry, but maybe have not fully jumped into like a full-time role or dedicated career. So as we like to say at Alchemy, we are very, very early, and that's why we are investing a lot into educational materials, community, onboarding folks into Web3. So we have initiatives like Alchemy University. This is a completely free, educational program. You can learn how to program. You can also learn how to become a blockchain developer. We have $25 million in WAGB developer grants. WAGB stands for We Are All Gonna Build It. Not sure if that acronym is gonna stick yet. So I'm curious, for each of you, what are your best recommendations and advice for people getting started in blockchain today? Why don't we start with Ben, actually?
Yeah, sure. So I think the most important concept is to always stay open-minded, right, and eager for new knowledge, right, eager to learn more, right. With that being said, I got three, I would say, recommendations for people who want to get into the Web3 or blockchain, right. I think the first one is quite straightforward, right. Of course, utilize all the free online resources out there. There's a lot of talented people just willing to share all the great knowledges about Web3 and blockchain, right? So go online, look on the topics that you're interested in, and study them, right? So that's the first one. And for the second one, it's just go to events like this, participate, networking, doesn't matter with your coworker, with friends you meet in the events, just go out, socialize more, exchange more ideas, right? Who knows, maybe during the process of exchanging, the next great idea can come from there, right? Last but not least, I think is the most important one, is put your money on the line. Find something that you're most interested in and actually put money in there, right? It doesn't matter if it's blockchain project or cryptocurrency, right? Put some money in there. Once your money is on the line, then you know it's real, right? You need to study it. You need to know how to maximize your return. And that will speed up your learning.
Relatable. Yep. Awesome. Tammy, curious about your advice.
I think I would definitely advise that everyone can download our app, the Capture app.
I actually did check it out before the panel. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. You can find it from the website capture.xyz, and you can find the download link of the iOS and Android. I think that the reason why I would like to recommend that, not just because it's built by us, but we really built it from the idea that we want to deliver something to everybody's phone where you can have an easy experience of Web3 technologies. So after you install that, and you can use that to take a photo, and during the process, you will experience the Web3 registration and how the location, the timestamp of that photo is preserved on chain. And also you can experience, sometimes it will fail because sometimes the registration, the on-chain registration takes some time and sometimes it fails and you have to try again. But we already try to improve it a lot. And also you can use it to experience the latest service from Filecoin, the Austria is actually behind. So the registration is actually done by that. And I believe that when you start using that and you will feel, it's just like taking a normal photo and you don't really experience, you really feel the technology behind. So I think that's the future we imagine because it should be like that.
That's awesome. Maybe we should take a photo together after the session. Cool. We have a last minute. Any advice that you would give for people to start?
Yeah, I think it's similar to the other panelists here. Around a decade ago, I started working very closely with the developer community, and there are so many hackathons in the crypto space. I would say just go ahead and build it, participate. There's ETH conferences all around the world. There's Filecoin hackathons we've done. We just wrapped up Phil Bangalore in India. So there's so many ways for you to just get started, even if you know nothing. And I think these hackathon communities actually are the best way to learn because you're learning not just by yourself, but with a community. A number of places for across multiple projects, including ours, you can just join our Slack and you can ask questions. Nobody knows everything in every single ecosystem. If someone does, they are probably lying because, like I said, there's so many things that move so quickly. Nobody knows the entire state of every single protocol. We also give a lot of grants out. So we have our Filecoin developer grants. There's projects you can propose, and there's ones that you can also look at and build for. And so these are grants up to $50,000 US where you can really explore. We also have a number of startup accelerators we fund, including Filecoin Techstars and Longhash. And so if you're working on a startup and you want to get involved, also a great way for us to work with you guys and also fund you guys from an infrastructure level. So there's so many ways, and you're also welcome to reach out to me. I think you can find me after, or find me on Twitter, or find me on Telegram. So.
Awesome, love that. And I love that overall advice of just get in there, build something, ship it. You know, even if you're not technical, writing some blog posts or sharing some learnings that you're having at this conference are a great way to get involved, start building relationships, and get into the community. Awesome, great. So quick round of where can people follow you or find you or learn more about your company? We can just go down the road here. Yeah.
So the Numbers Protocol, the website is numbersprotocol.io, and then you can find all the company information there. And my personal email is Tammy@numbersprotocol.io. Yeah, so if you have any questions, like you would like to talk to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so CloudMile actually has a booth next door, so if anyone interested, feel free to drop by, say hi. And personally, the traditional Telegram and Twitter is what I use the most as well. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me afterwards. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Clara, it's how you can find me on Tweet Clarita. You can also find Filecoin at Filecoin on Twitter and most platforms. Filecoin.io is our website. Phil.org is our foundation site. My email is c@phil.org. I also have a ton of swag to give away, so find me for free swag that's very high quality.
Awesome. And you can follow me at ThatGuyInTech on Twitter. I also make a lot of YouTube content for the Alchemy YouTube channel for people who are developers and getting into the space. So thank you so much. Big round of applause for our panel here.